But it's good to be back here in the continental United States. We talked about this a little bit yesterday in the fact that I was celebrating my 30th wedding anniversary.
First of all, shout out to 30 years. Shout out to Mrs. Dawson.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so once every 30 years, we thought we'd go to Hawaii.
Sounds like a great plan. Should have been a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, but something unexpected happened when you were there.
Yeah, we had a tsunami warning, if you'll remember, last week, and it was a little bit stressful. I'm not used to tsunami warnings. And again, it was a small part of a big vacation, but there was about an 8-hour period where we were having to do what you're supposed to do when there's a tsunami warning. So I did a TikTok on it. Here's the raw video of kind of what that looked like. All right, so the trick is all about getting up high away from the water. So you can see this is facing to the west. The sun is setting. You've got the ocean down that way, and I'm on a hill. And if I turn around, lots of sun in my face, and you can see that this goes up to a small regional airport, and that is what's considered one of our safe zones. So we're about 30 minutes away from the first wave that we're expecting from the tsunami warning, and we're going to start hiking up there on foot so that we can be, again, as high as we can, and could have a lot to talk about later, or maybe not a lot to talk about later. But we'll check in again after this first possible wave of a tsunami. It was one of those things where it was a new experience, so the stress was a little bit higher. Yeah. But then once we kind of continued to go several hours into this, the stress level kind of dropped back down a little bit, especially when you kind of started talking to the locals a little bit more, because they kind of realized, okay, this is a big deal, but if you go through the proper steps, it's okay. You just have to wait and see what kind of pans out. And so on the video there, you could barely see the ocean in the background when I first showed where the sun was setting. So, but you could definitely see, again, that's the ocean back that way. I did a little Google Maps, and I'm about 0.6 miles away from the ocean, as if I were just to take off walking. So a little over half a mile. If I were to just walk, I would be on the beach.
Now, how did you get there? Did the hotel give you like directions on where to go, or you had to fend for yourself?
Yeah, the hotel, plus I was in an Airbnb as well, so that's how to gather the information. There were 2 primary areas we were recommending. You see all the cars lined up here?
Yeah.
Those are sidewalks that go up this road, right?
Yeah.
And so people just drove up until the cars were stopped, and we just backed in across the sidewalks. We're all parked on top of sidewalks, and to kind of leave the road open. There was a fire truck and an ambulance that kind of came up and down. Kind of the emergency officials were moving around and looking, and we're all just, everybody just lined up on the road. People got lawn chairs out and start setting them up. I don't know this specific footage or elevation that you have to reach, but I also did a little looking around. That regional airport I was talking about has a 250-foot elevation. So within about a mile, you're looking at a 250-foot increase in elevation. And, that's how Hawaii works. That's a lot different than what we're doing around here. This is obviously video of the other parts of Hawaii that were a little bit more congested. It's one of those things where once those alarms go off, everybody just says, okay, we're all closed. Everybody go home. Everybody prepare and go to your green zones, your safe area. Well, when everybody lets out at the same time, you're going to have this sort of situation. We have this across Houston every single day, right? So, for Hawaii to do that, it makes sense because everybody has to close, right? Yeah. So all of the restaurants close to the water closed and everything. So yeah, basically we had about 3 hours that we spent sort of packing and waiting, and then we moved up there and we hung out there for probably close to 5 hours. It was about an 8-hour ordeal altogether of when we were just sort of displaced, kind of waiting, and so fortunate, of course, that nothing happened. If something were to have happened, then you have to deal with the aftermath. So I thought the worst case scenario would be if there was a wave large enough to maybe knock out power to a part of the island. That was what I was envisioning as the worst case for us. Because again, I didn't feel like my life was in danger. I'm 200 250 feet off from the ocean, you know, you're looking at a worst case scenario of like a 20-foot wave or something. So it's not like I'm going to be hurt, but is my condo going to, you know, be damaged, or where I'm staying? That's not my condo, just
for that week.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, that was. But again, or is the power going to be knocked out? And then, of course, we all know here in Houston what happens when the power goes out. It's super unpleasant. And so, yeah, that was kind of the scenario we were in.
I gotta say though, looking at the video in comparison to like the more city-like portions of Hawaii versus where you were, I think you were kind of lucky. You were in a good spot because it didn't seem like it was that congested compared to what we were seeing in the cities.
That's true. And there were some, again, I wasn't on a major road either. This is that road that just kind of goes up the hill. The major roads did get thick. Especially when the warning was first issued, and it took a while for that to thin out a little bit. Again, because it's sort of like when those warnings go off like that, everybody's required to close. You can't, if you own a restaurant, I don't think you're allowed to stay open if you're in that evacuation area. And so everybody closed, all the workers go home, and that's one of the reasons why I don't think you can stay open, because you can't like make your workers stay. Although I will say this, once things cleared a little bit, again, nobody's open, right? We went back down the hill and people are kind of milling around, and there were some food trucks though that had fired it back up, and those guys were doing good because your own little business in a food truck, those were the folks who were able to operate, and we didn't all have a lot of food. This was toward the end of my trip, so you asked me if I had a go bag.
That's literally what I'm about to ask right now. Like,
and I didn't take an actual go bag with me on this vacation, but I carry a few supplies, and I had what I deemed it my ready bag. Okay. I like the name of that. It's my ready bag, and it's the backpack I carry when I travel on an airplane. You kind of have your personal item, your backpack, and I stuffed it like if. I mean, again, I didn't know if I was going to be on foot hiking up a mountain or a hill or whatever. But I mean, I stuffed that. I had my flashlight in there. I might have had more than one flashlight. I had cell phone, charger, cables, a little bit of food. I just didn't have a lot of food, but I had that. Water. We definitely stocked up on water.
That's better than most people. I would not pack any of that.
Well, I mean, again, I'm in a little condo, so we had some supplies, that we were there. But I put that all in my backpack, my ready bag. I made my ready bag. And again, we packed all of our belongings and put them in our rental car and drove up and parked on that hill. So we had all of our stuff with us in our rental, just sitting there. And again, with everybody else, we're just hanging out. And again, I can kind of have fun and be lighthearted about it and everything now, because obviously nothing happened. But I'll tell you, when you hear that the 6th largest earthquake ever recorded just happened on the other side of the ocean, and a tsunami wave is coming towards you from an earthquake that's the 6th largest that we've ever heard of, that gets your attention a little bit.
Quickly.
It's not like, oh yeah, it's another one of these tsunami warnings. No, this is a historic earthquake that created that tsunami warning. So again, there was some stress at the time, and there was some tension, but once you get into a safe area, you just wait it out.
What'd you guys do for the 5 hours you were up there on that hill?
We just hung out. There was talking. You sort of saw a neighbor a little bit. Time on your device. I brought a book. I was reading a book. My wife, Dr. Dawson, she knits, so she's over there in the passenger seat knitting away, and doing the same thing I'm doing, as well as other stuff. So we were waiting it out, and again, we're fortunate nothing happened to our island, and we kind of went back down and got back to normal.
Well, not everyone says that on their 30th anniversary. It's part of the story, for sure. It
is definitely part of the story. And again, I'm very thankful that it turned out. Oh, and I tell you what, the TikTok community, the Instagram community, there's sort of some bad juice sometimes on those platforms, but there's also so much love that can really be reached out. And so I'm so thankful for the comments and the thoughts those people on social media shared during that time, because it was a little stressful, and it was encouraging to have those comments.
All right, we love you, JD.
All right,
make sure you come back in one piece.
All right,
thanks, JD. Thanks for sharing that experience, my man.